This week, or this weekend rather, we are packing our bags and we are going up the road to Brentford. It's going to be a very challenging encounter for the boys against the Bees, given how organised they are. Dan, if you're Nathan Jones, are you starting with a back five against Brentford?
No, not at all. I think he's got a lot. Given how much better organized, ironically, how much better organized they looked with a back four, and it wasn't just against Newcastle. It's happened a couple of times. That is one positive under him. They do look more organised. It's just the next step is keeping a few more clean sheets. But yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. You got to start a back four. This isn't necessarily a game on paper that you'd expect Saints to win. There are going to be few of those. To be honest with you, Brentford are flying, and I think they've lost one game at home all season in the league. But he's got to go for a back four, not only because it seems that we're more organised and we look like we know how to defend in that better. It also means that we have more players in the final third. Whether that's a 4-3-3, a 4-2-3, however he's going to set up. I think it's got to revolve around a back four because then not only do we tend to defend better, but it also leaves more players going forward, and then we've got a greater chance of scoring more goals.
Yeah, I think that's a fair summary. In our last 5 meetings with Thomas Franks men, we've only won twice and lost 3 times. Given that 2 of them were in League One, I don't think we got to worry too much about it. But our last game was grim. That 3-0 loss at the G-Tech Community Stadium, it actually turned out to be what I think quite a key turning point in Hassan Hootel's tenure, and what ultimately sort of started that demise. Benji, in your view, what is it going to take for us to go there and pull out a result?
I think it's actually going to take something pretty simple, which is somehow not making a horrific defensive mistake and somehow taking the chances that they do end up creating. And that sounds a lot more difficult than it should be, but I honestly think that's been the difference in most of these recent games is we keep talking about the fine margins and how fine every game is. Losing by 1 goal, they've now lost, I think, 8 of the league games by 1 goal, 10 in all competitions. And it is something that's just happened over and over and over again, where Southampton might be in a game, but they end up giving it away either by missing a massive chance or by conceding in ridiculous circumstances or from a set piece. So if they can just do those final steps right, I think that they'll have an excellent chance of at least getting a point from this game. But at the same time, if you gift other teams goals in the Premier League, you're going to have a mighty tough time winning any game.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there any danger of us seeing the new men, or are we thinking the visa situation has held that back slightly? Are we more likely to see them against Wolves than we are against Brentford?
I think perhaps it could in part depend on how desperate Nathan Jones feels at the moment, but I think probably Wolves. I believe Onuachu only arrived in the UK today at some point, so it would be a pretty quick turnaround if he is. I mean, they should be registered in time as long as the visa stuff is all dealt with. Obviously, those announcements on the club site all said subject to work permit clearance, etc., and international clearance, whatever they call it. So if that gets done in time, they should have enough time to train with the team and in theory be involved, but it's tough when you see just how actually deep the squad is right now, putting them straight in when it might not be necessary. But again, is it the worst idea to put a 6'7" striker on the bench in case you have to bring him on for the last 20 minutes? I certainly wouldn't be opposed to that.